Welcome to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host. Here's our format. A bunch of guys sitting around a bar. There's no bar. Having drinks. There's no drinks either. But we're talking business, and you, the audience, are listening in. The Best of Investing is actually a radio show that has been around since August 2010, and it airs every Saturday on Fox News Radio, 9:10 a.m. at 1 p.m. Now, we're not a political show. We're strictly business, so everyone will be happy with that. We'll have various speakers, guest speakers, attorneys, accountants, economic advisors. But the cool thing about this is that you're actually getting to see scenes behind the scenes. So we all have headphones on because we're recording a radio show that is going to be airing on the air on radio. But in addition, you get to see what happens during the commercial breaks, how we prepare for the next segment. So it's a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of levity because I like to try to throw a little bit of humor in there because, you know, just business by itself sometimes gets a little boring. So you got to always kind of break things. Remember, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. Are you ready? Let's go. Welcome, you're listening to the Best of Investing on News Talk 910. This is the show where we present valuable information about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm pleased to have as my co-host Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender, and Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage. And today's trivia theme is initials in business. I'll give you the initials and you tell me the company. So on television, Comcast Channel 26 on Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 6 p.m. And don't forget, dar.fm is a website that you can use to record our show in the future. And today's special guest is Geraldine Berry, who is the producer of the Expo Silicon Valley. And Geraldine, welcome to the Best of Investing. Tell us, what is the Expo Silicon Valley?
Well, Expo Silicon Valley has a lineup of 22 real estate experts from across the country talking about what's going on in the market. Market timing is a key piece of investing. We will have several panels. We have a capital market panel with 4 top-level investment bankers, including Stephen Kahani of Lone Oak Fund and Ron LaRussa of Fremont Bank. We've got the Mayor of Santa Clara, Jamie Matthews, and the County Assessor, and Nancy Klein, one of the city planners, and Michelle from Foreclosure Radar, speaking on the status of the Valley. And as you know, the Valley is really hot right now. Economically, we're beginning to thrive, and real estate prices are escalating, and inventory is low. So we're going to talk about all of these things.
And Geraldine, you know a lot about real estate in the Valley because you're also the founder and president of the San Jose Real Estate Investor Association, is that right?
That's correct, and we have 3 chapters in the Bay Area, so we're all over the Bay, and we do have our hand on the pulse of what's going on here.
Well, that's exciting. So what's the goal of the Expo?
Well, I think 5 or 6, 10 years ago, you had these expos and there were big sales pitches. And right now, we have the best buying opportunity of our lifetime in real estate. So this expo is bringing together the people that you need as a broker, as an investor, as a very sophisticated investor. We have 3 tracks of education so that you can get the information that you need to make a good, profitable investment decision.
Now, as someone who runs a real estate investor association in the Bay Area, are you seeing a lot of people this year in 2012 coming back into the real estate investment arena? I know last year it was a little bit, touch and go, and of course the fourth quarter last year was probably one of the worst markets to sell real estate in. I think it was, or it may have been the bottom of the market, but boy, it's been an interesting year so far.
It has, and things have kind of changed very dramatically in terms of real estate here in the Valley. But not only here, in a lot of the major metro areas, inventory is limited, and so people are beginning to feel like, I need to get back in. With interest rates at historic lows, the prices are right, the cost to rebuild is is way more than you're buying for. So when you have that kind of a scenario and you can lock in these great 30-year interest rates, it's a great time to participate, and people are seeing that now. And the stock market definitely has a place in a portfolio, but real estate too should be part of every portfolio as a diversification strategy and as a hedge against inflation.
Well, hey Geraldine, I was going to ask you, is this expo for experienced investors or novices or both?
It's for all levels. So we have 21 workshops, and so we have one track that's for agents and brokers. How do you deal with investors? IRA investing. Then we have the more basic level, and then we have the more sophisticated level. But the basic level, one of our speakers is going to talk about he's from Arizona, Jason Hartman, and he talks about the 12 commandments of investing. What do you need to do to invest wisely, and what do you need to stay away from? And then one segment that we're having that I feel is a very, very significant piece of investing, especially if you're outside of your hometown, and that is due diligence. How do you do due diligence? We have Chris Clothier from Memphis Invest doing a 2-segment piece on due diligence. And what do you look at? And what are the economic drivers that you need in terms of investing? How many people, what kind of population do you need in an area in order to consider investing there? Personally, I don't want to be in any metro area that's less than 1 million. But there are people that have different strategies and different criteria. But at least if you go and you get educated about it, you can decide that's important to me. Like schools. Are schools important to you? I think if you're in a good school district, you'll get a family to occupy your house and pay it off for you. There's lots of things that you may not have considered that will be discussed in that session.
Geraldine, this is Robert Schiff at RPM Mortgage. It sounds like a fascinating conference you're putting on. Can you tell me exactly when it is and where it is?
Well, it's Expo Silicon Valley at the Santa Clara Convention Center here in Santa Clara, and it includes free parking. Lunch is included because we know that networking is a key component to investing, and you know, if you can pick up the phone if you have a problem and ask somebody because you've made that right connection, that really helps the process.
I've been to that convention center.
For you as an investor. And so people who will talk about, we have Lamar Baxter and Jeffrey Hare, attorney, who will talk about investing in your IRA. I own some houses in my IRA, and how does that work? How does one do that? People don't know sometimes that you can use an IRA, an individual retirement account, to invest in real estate, and how, what a great thing that is. I see my rents rolling in there every month. It doesn't go up and down. The house was rehabbed after we purchased it. So it's a great strategy for building your long-term wealth. And what we find here in the Valley is that a lot of professionals who work and are immersed in the Silicon Valley want to create some financial freedom, and real estate is the tool to do that.
How many people do you expect to attend the conference?
We expect anywhere from 600 to 1,000 people.
Yeah, that convention center is beautiful.
Oh my gosh, that's a great networking opportunity.
Yeah, we're actually in the ballroom. We're not in the dark, dull dungeon.
Well, Mark makes a good point that, not only would people get a lot of good education by going to this, but it's a great networking opportunity, during break time and whatever for various people there.
Well, yes, and as I mentioned, we have the Bay Area Muscle Panel, like the mayor and the county assessor and the city planner, and then Michelle from Foreclosure Radar are going to talk about the numbers here if you're interested in that. And that's why we have 3 tracks, so that if one segment doesn't interest you, you have several others to choose from.
And that's all for one price.
All for one price.
That's great. Okay, Geraldine, stay with us in the studio. We're going to cut to a commercial break. Got a quick little announcement here for our friend Kramer, the videographer. Now, listen to this. On Saturday, on September 15th at 11:30 a.m., the Bay Area audience will get a chance to see what it's like to live at ground zero of a capital punishment debate in the shadow of San Quentin State Prison. Eye of the Storm, that's the name of it, premiere at the historic Lark Theater relives the night of the controversial execution of Stanley Tookie Williams. Tickets are $25 online and $30 at the door, but if you mention Best of Investing, you only have to pay $10. Not a bad deal, just mention it right at the door. And all proceeds are going to benefit the local nonprofit Meals of Marin. Kramer's a good guy here. And with KTVU's own Pam Cook as the MC and a question and answer session to follow, the film is meant to encourage a discussion about the media, capital punishment, and freedom of speech. It ought to be quite interesting.
Awesome.
You can watch the theatrical trailer and purchase tickets at www.mealsofmarin.net. Thank you, Mr. Kramer. All right, Gabe, we're going to cut to the first commercial break, and again, the trivia theme is initials in business. The business 3M. What do the 3 M's stand for? And we will be right back. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money and Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage. And on the phone in the studio, we have Geraldine Berry, who is in charge of the Silicon Valley Expo that we'll get into in just a minute. But when we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this first trivia question. The theme is initials in business. The business 3M, what do the 3 M's stand for?
Well, it
Go
was
ahead.
the Minnesota company who had mining and manufacturing.
That is correct. Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing. Very
I
good,
wouldn't have
Robert.
guessed that in a million years.
Not in a million years. Okay. Geraldine, can you tell us what, there's a couple of extra special guests that you have, right, for the expo?
Yes, one of the guests that we frequently have at the SJREI is Bruce Norris, and Bruce is a market timing expert, and he's developed his expertise over 30 plus years in the business, and he has a very good track record. In 2005, he came to our organization and talked about the financial crisis on the horizon and the fact that outlying areas would be pounded in terms of real estate prices, and a lot of our members, including myself, exited the market at that point.
He wasn't very popular when he made that prediction, Geraldine, was he?
People didn't want to hear, you never want to hear bad news, you know what I'm saying? And people did not want to hear that the market was going to tank. They thought real estate goes up forever, exponentially, and so it fell on deaf ears to some degree, but those of us who took action, I actually liquidated my primary residence after we liquidated our investment property and rented for 6 years.
Wow.
And just popped back into the market a year and a half ago now. And I'm very happy with that, with the way things played
That's
out.
amazing to be able to, I mean, it's one thing to sell rental property, but to sell your personal residence?
Well, what I did was I moved down within walking distance of my children's school, so it kind of simplified my life, and then I thought it would be for a couple of years, but it turned into 6. And so sometimes things don't play out the way you intend, and you know, now we got back in, and I think we got in at a very good time. Now we see prices escalating here in Silicon Valley again.
So we're talking with Geraldine Berry, who's the producer of the Silicon Valley Expo, which is going to be this coming Saturday,
No,
September 8th.
Saturday.
Next Saturday, well,
Yeah, a week from today.
a week from today, yes, next Saturday, September 8th. And is Bruce Norris your keynote speaker, or is he just one of the many great speakers?
One of my speakers. To be honest, we have so many incredible speakers now. We have, as I mentioned, we have a bunch of heavyweight bankers that are doing a panel on, you know, the capital markets and what's going on with them. We have Jason Hartman. We have Tom Wilson from Wilson Properties. We have Kevin Kazmarek from Capital Blueprint. These are all people who are at the top of their game. And as I mentioned, I think off air, they're contractually obligated not to sell from the workshop floor.
So this is information,
Just
not
information
sales
only,
pitch.
yeah.
Okay,
And
well
then
that's good.
Will people?
I like that.
Yeah,
I hate when I go somewhere and I get a big sales pitch. Give me the meat.
well, will there be question and answer time at the end of each session?
I doubt it, because but the speakers will be available to mingle, and we'll be having a meet and greet with them afterwards, and they'll be available. But I think that I've seen the presentations, and they're going to take the full 40 minutes. So every segment is 40 minutes.
So that's actually really important, and bears repeating, Geraldine, that this is not like that event that they used to host in San Francisco for several years, where you'd go listen to somebody and every single speaker was selling their back of the room, $1,500, run back there with your credit card and buy some program that wouldn't work. So this is not that.
What we like to say in my office is Donald Trump will not be attending.
That's right.
So anyway, but yes, it's all about the content.
Well, and we talked a little bit before the show, Geraldine, how Bruce Norris, who I think is a fabulous speaker, and I like to go anywhere where he's going to be talking about real estate, and his most recent newsletter just came out, and he is very bullish on real estate. Now, he's predicting that based on a number of variables, which he talks about in his newsletter, he's thinking that there's a strong possibility that real estate prices might actually spike up in the next year. And we're certainly seeing, at least right now, not a whole lot of inventory out there for real estate investors.
Right. And even you're seeing Arizona where inventory levels are lower, but prices are coming up. And it's not just in California. There are other cities, too, that are experiencing, the inventory levels that are a little bit lower. And so it looks like we have powered through some of this inventory, and the banks, we're expecting this big release of inventory that never really happened. So this was a very different cycle for us.
It really was. In fact, I think for the last 3 years, we've been talking about the second wave or the coming, the second tsunami of all that shadow inventory. And quite frankly, it doesn't look like at this point that really is going to materialize, that the banks have figured out another way to work through that. And as a result, if that inventory is not forthcoming, then that really adds upward pressure to prices.
Well,
and I think that's good.
What do you think they're doing with
it?
it?
In terms of government intervention, when the government intervenes and foreclosures don't move through the process the way they should, it impacts inventory levels. And so we've had a lot of intervention that's artificial. And so you're seeing the impact of that now.
No,
the inventory is definitely being burned through.
I think the banks have been, for a while, reluctant to foreclose on properties and faced legal ramifications of robo-signing. But I also think that they've pretty much cleared the obstacles to that out. And I think there is a large bank inventory, but like Mark says, they are not either without purpose or with purpose.